Oh, there we go. I'm unmuted now. Hello, we're going to be finishing up the sculpture that we started last time. I did some rough base painting, and this is the bookend piece that he'll be attached to. We have the front, the middle, and the back end. Now, I don't know if I'm going to actually finish the corgi himself. My main goal today is to get these little minis painted. We have several, so... This may be hard to get the camera to focus. We have several. We got this guy. Little old man. I did multiple different types of fae creatures and beings. So I'm going to be trying to finish up and paint all of these little minis. Sometimes that takes a while, so this might be all we get done today. I am going to attempt to finish everything and get the video done by next week, because I will not be doing anything for a video next week, and I may do another voiceover from an older video to post, but for now, at the very least, we will start this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just dry brush some shading on here. That is way too much paint. And I will attempt to hold the pieces up here so you can better see what I am doing at the present moment. Now, this poor little guy lost one of his horns. You can see he's got the one, but the other one broke off. I do apologize, I'm a little congested again today. But yes, we're going to be painting up all the little fey creatures that come and go on the corgi transport system. If I can, I will attempt to read the final part of the entry. We skipped over that because I wanted to have something to read on the next video, and it was pretty long. So we're going to read some of that today, hopefully. It is a little hard to paint a mini and read segments, so I'll kind of alternate perhaps. But essentially, once they fix, so we read last time that this particular little corgi was found, and they started burying portions of him and interacting with it and messing with it, and the fey creatures didn't like that real well. So the SCP Foundation gradually went through and undid what they had started doing, and most of the people, with the exception of the one who was tormenting and hurting the corgi, most of them were returned to their normal state, and their houses no longer had poison ivy for walls and all sorts of horrible things. Sorry. So once they did that, they got a letter, complimentary letter from the Fae, and were told that they were allowed to see and ride this special fairy corgi transport system. So they sent an agent, her name was Agent Davies, to explore SCP-2952, the corgi railway system. She was chosen because she speaks Welsh, and part of the reason I think they're doing this because it's a Welsh Pembroke corgi. And also because it fits a little bit with like the Celtic and UK area mythology that they're borrowing from for this. So it was kind of a cute detail that everything that they've gotten, every note, every letter has been written in Welsh. So Agent Davies came to the location, she touched it and was shrunken down, and we have a full log recording of her experience on the corgi transport system. Her name is Elizabeth Davies. Alright, let me see where we can start. So she touches it and immediately shrinks in size. That's why I did some of these creatures. I did a dryad and a satyr, because both of the, although satyrs are technically Greek mythology, I'm not sure. Because there were different creatures, and she was humanoid sized but shrank, so I don't think it's necessarily all tiny little fairy beings. Alright. So they have a log of her. Agent Davies gets shrunken. And she is surprised, and she starts saying, well, that's, the shrinkage seems proportional to the spot. Let's hope it is. None of the typical detrimental side effects you see with other SCPs that cause shrinkage, and nothing about that height appears to be, and noting that end height appears to be 3.2 centimeters tall. Control, can you still hear me? Mission Control responded, we can hear you perfectly, Agent. All right then, Tech isn't I can't read today. This is going to be a problem. Tech isn't affected by the shift either. Good to know. Doors open at 10:35, yes? So essentially, this is like a transcript log of them sending her onto this thing. So she touches it, she shrinks, and starts communicating with Mission Control. And all of her technology and everything works just fine, despite shrinking. So when she steps on, she overhears one of the other fairies. Some kind of, let's see, hope this thing isn't late again. I tried to make it to the glade in time for midnight at the solstice. Missed it by 6 minutes. All the ingredients for a Harvest Bane incantation gone to seed. Agent Davies responds to this person that she overheard. Do you know why meaning the corgi subway, has been late? Some kind of internal blockage, I hear. Poor thing's got kidney stones. Which I thought was an interesting detail. That if the little corgi gets sick or has some sort of intestinal problems, the interior of the corgi, even though it is a space that looks like a subway, it still responds to normal, like, things where if it gets sick or ill, it responds as if it were a normal body and not like the subway appearance, which I thought was interesting. Because even the interior of it is a subway, so wouldn't you think have kidneys, and yet it does somehow. And then there's a paragraph description of what they see in the recordings that I'm assuming that Agent Davies is doing. So the openings along the side of the corgi appear at 10:41, so it is late, and 9 instances of 2952-2, which is the tiny people, begin to exit. All right, let me see. Where is our dryad here? We're going to paint this guy first. No, I was considering doing the interior of this thing a little bit, but I did not. Because it would have been a lot of effort, and it would have had to be hollow. There would have been an issue with strength and the piece holding together. There's already a little bit of issue with the corgi's legs. Oh, one of them broke off and I had to repair it. I love these tiny little brushes. They're so handy. Don't remember where I got them. I think I got them somewhere cheap online. Okay, so the interior of SCP-2952 looks similar to a subway car, which is what I was just talking about. The wall, ceiling, and floor appear to be constructed of birch bark wrapped around thin twigs. The walls are lined with seats, which are cushioned with a variety of flower petals. Many of the seats are in disrepair. There are 42 instances of SCP-2952-2, which is the small people, aboard the car, filling around 2/3 of available seats. Agent Davies takes a seat across from the person she just talked to, instance 2-A, which is one of the fairy people she just talked to. The doors close and the car begins to move. A slightly distorted voice begins to speak with no discernible source. Voice. Now departing from 3 Portlands. Next stop, West Coast Rainforest. So I find it interesting that it is like a regular subway, but it is made entirely of like twigs and branches. So I really did get excited for a little bit there because I was like, maybe I should, maybe I should try to do the interior just a little bit. But then I was looking at how much I would have to do to be able to do that, and I was like, that's not going to work. Not with my current materials, and I didn't really know if I had the clay to do more details. I should have probably done it. I think that would have been cool, but I did not. A mini painting is very tedious, very slow. It's going to be even slower because I am trying to read at the same time. Alright, so this little guy is a dryad, so we're going to make him birch bark colored. Okay. Or not birch bark, I'm sorry. Bark colored in general. I'm going to use a lot of these little brushes. Break this one open here. I'm going to dry brush the brown here just lightly. That should keep some of the shading we did when we went over with white. So if you layer things very lightly, you can sometimes see a bit of the coloration that you had beneath. That's why I went ahead and did some shading before doing the painting over top, which may seem a little counterintuitive, but it does work pretty well for some small detail type things. It's a little hard painting them when they're this tiny. Usually the minis are a bit bigger, but because of the scale, I had to make them this size. I don't think I could have made the corgi much bigger. I would have run out of clay. I did get a new shipment of clay in today, so it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but initially it wasn't supposed to come until the end of next week, so I was working with the knowledge I had at the time. Alright, so we got some basic brown on the top here. And then his legs are somewhat exposed. And we will return to reading the entry here in a second. If we have time, I will paint the corgi as well tonight, and I'll rewrite the video title to reflect that. But the goal right now is just the little minis. And figuring out kind of where we want to attach them to the platforms. I also want to add some greenery and some other details to the bases. Alright, so we have a base of brown on this little guy. Gotta pull it into my vision a little more clearly. Minis are a little harder to paint for the camera because I am going to have to pull it in front of me a bit so that I can see. Alright. She looks around and observes her surroundings while she's on this train. Posted on the upper walls are advertisements for organic oak moss tincture, a religious organization practicing a variant of paganism, and a horror movie featuring SCP-2323 entitled Strike of the Shrike, and the premiere of a new children's cartoon featuring SCP-2952 called The Global Adventures of the Great Grady. Also visible various forms of graffiti, including multiple messages such as "Brownies suck, go back to your glens," and an image resembling SCP-2547. Another small person, further down the car, begins playing Lady Greensleeves on a flute, loudly and off-key. One of the small people mumbles, shut the hell up, will you?" A baby begins crying, and another person throws a thorn at the flutist, who promptly ceases playing. After some time, an elderly female, designated since 2-B, approaches Agent Davies while holding a scroll. "Excuse me, dear, would you mind signing this petition? It's attempting to revoke the new law saying that mice are no longer allowed on board. It's so unfair. Just a signature, dear. That's all I need. Not even a true name." And then Mrs. Davies goes on to apologize because she is, in fact, not a citizen of the Fae. and cannot therefore sign their petition. So basically, it's like a fairy version of a real-life subway, I guess. I will say I do not have much experience riding subways. I have lived mostly in the country, so public transport not really a thing here. But from the little bit of time that I have been on a subway, kind of sounds like it's standard subway, but with a fairy twist. So you got people being obnoxious, you have people doing petitions, you have graffiti, you have all sorts of stuff. So what I'm doing now is I'm just adding a little shading to the green that we already had. Lost my brush. There we go. I'm trying to think what color we want the pants to be, because they need to contrast a little bit, but not too much. So now we're going to do some shading on the little blue. All right. I'm thinking a light beige-ish color might be the way to go for the pants. So we're going to try that, see how that goes, see what that looks like. Especially since the skin is darker on this one, I think that'll contrast nicely. I like this little guy having his hand up in the air. Kind of makes it look like he's hailing someone or waving at somebody. I was just thinking about the petition taker lady. If she doesn't even need a real name, Mrs. Davies probably could have signed it. I wonder why they don't want mice riding the subways. Alright, so now we're going to take the lighter brown and we're going to start manually doing some of the highlights on this little mini. I wonder if I could pull the camera a little closer. That might not work. There's no real good way for me to do that without drastically changing the angle. Yeah, I better not mess with it. Okay, we'll just try to hold it up here. Kind of see the details we're adding. It's not perfect when it's this tiny, but we can get in the ballpark. We gotta do his belt. I think we'll make the belt black, because that should be quite a different color. Alright, I'm gonna paint the bag here real quick, just to... because I forgot that I gave him one. Okay, and then we're gonna get some metallic paints. And see if we can paint that little belt buckle on. Just slightly. I will have to hold this one to my face rather than the camera. I apologize. But I don't really know how to do it without looking quite closely. Alright. Now I'm going to do a tiny bit of moss, and then I'll show you this first little fey creature. I don't know how I'm going to have him positioned, so I am spending a decent amount of time on his back as well. Because I'm not sure where I'm putting these little guys yet. Okay, and then we're going to do some quick light colors here, and then we're going to be finished with this first little mini, and I will hold him to the camera so that you can see him a little better. Alright. There's our first little guy. He is a dryad. So we will put him aside, and we will pick up another person. Let's do this guy. Okay. Let's do his face real quick here. Grab another teeny tiny brush. gonna have pale skin. Pale skin, pointy ears. And I'm gonna give him fiery orangey hair. Let's do this real quick. Gonna start with the red. Okay. I'm gonna do orange, and then we'll give it like a metallic sheen. Then we'll move down to doing his clothes. All right. Let's give him a purple vest. I like the idea of a shiny purple vest. Let's see, he's got a purple vest now. I might see if I can try doing a video tomorrow. Don't know how that'll go. Maybe. We'll see. Let's give him black pants, and we'll go over it with a gray color for highlights. Once I finish this, we'll take another look at our entry. We'll read a few more lines of it. All right. So we just had the person getting signatures approach our agent. And she was like, hey, I'm not really a citizen. I can't really sign this. And the lady hurries off. So then that person takes the seat next to Agent Davies and begins knitting using 2 thorns as needles. So it was an older lady, at least in appearance, who attempted to get the signature from her to let mice still ride the railways. I wonder if it's the same thing with like mice or their pets, kind of like letting dogs ride. Was that a thing for a bit on certain subways? I feel like it was. Because my brain was thinking sentient mice, but I think it might be like the mice are their pets. So they're not letting people bring their pets on board. That might be the avenue that the author intended us to take from that. Now that I think about it. Alright. So she starts knitting at the far end of the car. And then another small person takes out a package wrapped in leaves, unwraps it, revealing a mushroom of unknown species. The incense begins loudly consuming the mushroom, and based on the facial expression of every other passenger, it probably smells really bad. Which I find funny. It's like when you're at a place of employment, like at work or something, and use the work microwave to heat up fish, and everyone hates you. That kind of scenario. And the lady who had the census taker then makes the comment, well, if they really wanted to ban something unpleasant. That's not the exact words. But then the radio conductor or voice reads out, now approaching West Coast Rainforest. Agent Davies stands up because that's where she was intending to get off. She gets off, pats the little corgi transport system on the side, says good boy, and she returns to her normal size. She crouches over the departing crowd and watches the people and waves to the few instances that she saw. So it really is like an ordinary transport system, but with the fairy twist to it. If you can think of it that way. I apologize if I'm stumbling over my words quite a bit. I seem to have either bitten or hurt part of my tongue, so as I'm talking, it's actually quite painful. Hopefully it will go away in a day or two. It's not feeling too good. But I am trying to enunciate my words regardless. But I'm probably talking a little softer than normal. So I'm sorry about that. Hopefully it gets better because I do want to do some voiceover stuff for new videos. I don't know if I want to do that while I sound like this. We'll see. Now, what would go with purple? It almost feels like I cut or injured the bottom underneath of my tongue. It's very painful. Alright. So we are now going to paint the sandals in on this little guy. There's one sandal painted. This is quite difficult. All right. I could do a white, just a basic white for the undershirt that he has beneath his vest. And then go ahead and do brown for the belt. All right. Actually, let's see what green will look like. I might regret this. But let's try it. Just a very faint green. I'll look here and again in a if I could talk. I will look here again in a second. But I believe that was the end of the entry, and I think we read the rest of it last time. But that might be all the reading I have energy for, to be honest. I may have to pause here a second and take some pain meds. Because I have an abscessed tooth, and I have been struggling with that for a bit. So we're just going to add some very light yellow shading to the shirt that we just painted green on a whim. So... Now this guy's positioned in such a way I intend him to come out of the station like this. So he will be front facing. All right, now let's see if we can do the eyes. I don't usually do full-blown eyes, especially not this scale. I just little tiny dots just sort of shade in, darken. That was too much. Darken the spot where their eyes would be, just ever so slightly. Because at a distance, you don't usually see people's eyes that clearly. So doing like a slight black or brown shading. There we go. So we have our two of our people. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do a second part to this video. Or a part 3, because I'm not going to be able to... Oh, I'm not going to be able to paint the corgi and all of these. So we have a little purple, green, blue. Let's see. I'm not sure what color dress we should give her. Let's go with red, just because we don't have that yet. Maybe a red skirt and then a slightly different color for the upper piece, since there's a line. It's not a dress, it's more like a top and a skirt. Alright. Let's get a new brush. I want to make the top a whitish gray color. We could do some fun skin tones too, like some unnatural ones for the fairy creatures. But I don't know if we're going to go that route or not. Alright, and then yellow for the hair. Bright yellow. And we will touch it up with a gold color. Don't worry, the shirt looks terrible and I am aware of it. I will fix it in a moment. Alright. Trying to think of what color her wings should be. Green would make it look very Christmassy, and I don't want to do that. This burgundy color might be nice. Let's do that. And then we'll do shading over this to make it a little prettier than it is currently. All right. Add some. I have to paint the face, so I'm going to go really close for that. Okay. I'm not as happy with this one. One of the things I learned about when you're painting small minis is that the more little details you add, the less you'll notice bad looking like mistakes and things. It's the simplistic ones, I think, that are actually harder to paint because they tend to look bad really easy. It's very easy to make a mistake and then they end up looking terrible. What if I like gradient color the wings? And then for the final color, we could do green. Yeah, we're gonna position this one so you don't see her too well, because I'm not as happy with her appearance as I would like to be. So we'll kind of hide her facing forward, probably against something so you can't see her too well. Since I don't think she's... The model itself is just not as nice. The wings at this scale did not print as detailed as I would like, which also kind of made it look bad. Okay. Not as nice of a mini. But I think we'll place her in the back. Facing, well, in the front, but like facing away from you. Excuse me. That way you can't see her as well. Alright. We have 4 more. Okay, let me see. We'll do our satyr next. Oh, and if, I hadn't said it yet, but if you were wondering where I got these minis, I did print them. But there is a website called Titancraft Minis. Now, you can't use these for commercialized things, so without you can, but you have to purchase a license. So, like, I couldn't sell these. But you can custom make a lot of miniatures that are pretty awesome. So, if you want to go make some minis, Titancraft is a great place to do it. A lot of their assets are free. And if you like a specific design that you don't get for free, it usually costs like a few dollars. It's really not bad. So, it's pretty cheap. And they're pretty cool. There's a lot of customization they've added. Quite a bit. So, worth it. If I were to have enough of a shop thing with minis, I would definitely purchase the license so that I could sell these, but as of right now, there's no reason to. I wouldn't sell enough to cover the cost of it currently. But that may be something I do in the future. I'm half tempted to leave his skin gray, just because that might be fun. We're getting there. Let me... I did get a little mini holder to help with painting, but it is only for minis that have a base. So it would not work in this scenario. Else I'd be using it. It's pretty nice. Alright. Alright. We're gonna do gold. Yeah, if these were just a hair bigger, they'd be easier to work with. But unfortunately, that is not an option, really. If you hear faint rustling, it is because my guinea pig is sorting through her food. She dumps it out on the ground, eats what she likes, and then complains to me because she doesn't have any food because it's all on the ground. So she's currently sorting through stuff, picking out what she likes and what she doesn't. She's a very picky little thing. Alright. Let me paint his horns real quick. There we go. Alright, we gotta do his hair tie. Gonna make it red. Alright. I'm gonna add some orange highlights to the hair, and then I'll show you our little satyr man. Alright, gonna have to go really close, I'm sorry. Okay. Alright, so this is our little satyr guy. Four down, 3 more to go. I am going to take a quick break here and go grab some more pain meds, but I will be back in a few minutes. I think, I'm debating because I could go ahead and finish this piece. I don't really feel like it though. I really do think I'm going to break it up into 2 videos. I'll try to do it tomorrow morning probably, or early afternoon. But I won't have too much time tomorrow either. I don't know. I will work it out. But yeah, I will just do the minis and I will be back in just a second. So I was thinking I would bring some foliage up, but I'm not going to do that. We'll worry about finishing the corgi painting and then putting everything together in the final step. So I'm going to take a quick break here. Okay, sorry about that. Let us go back to our minis. Okay. I'm gonna put all these, let's get all new ones for now. Okay. So I think we're gonna do, this one has like leaf scale armor, so we're gonna do the green again. And then we'll do a shiny metallic over top. I think green and gold armor would be very fairy-like. At least it seems that way to my brain. I don't really know why, but it seems like it would be. Okay. Doing the metallic green. Okay. Okay. Gonna do some shading. Let me think what we could give her black hair. I don't think I've had anybody with black hair yet. Let's give her black hair. The difficulty I have is always the faces, because they don't print perfectly. And then at this scale, it's very hard to do the details without it looking really bad. Hmm. Sorry, I'm not doing a lot of this directly on the camera. I just... Okay. Face on that one's not as good. Alright, let's do our little old man. Yeah, I want to give him like slightly brown skin. You're not going to see a ton of it, but because he's got so much crazy white hair that we're going to do. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do his hair. Alright. Let's see here. Let's do a light brown for the goggle straps that he's got. And we'll do the pants the same color. Alright. And then I'm putting a dot of blue for the goggles. Alright. I think we're gonna give him the burgundy coat. Oh, maybe not burgundy. We don't have enough blue. Let's do blue. We'll give him a shiny blue coat. Hold on. There is a spot here from the supports that's not supposed to be. There we go. Got it off. Okay. Now let's do a bright yellow trim for this coat. All right. Let me think. What color should his shark be? All right. All right, now we got to do Mr. Loot Guy. Okay. Okay. We have a lot of green, we have some blue, we have some purple, we have some red. Let me try this. Actually, let's do black. That'd be interesting. There we go. I like that shirt pattern on him. Now, let me see. All right. Okay. Now we gotta do his belt. Okay, I want to give him a little purple shiny cloth on his hip. And we gotta figure out skin tone. Hmm. Hmm. What color hair do we give him? Can't be black. Okay. Excuse me. All right. Let me hold all of these so you can kind of see them. These are our characters getting on and off the train. Alright, so I think I'll end it for now. I will hopefully be back tomorrow if I have time. If not, perhaps Monday or Tuesday or something like that. I will attempt to finish painting the actual corgi. So we'll do that then, and then I will place all of the little minis on their respective stations. And, you know, place them about, make it interesting, add little foliage pieces. Should be fun. So I'll finish this in a third-part video, hopefully in a few days. I do apologize my voice being a little off. Like I said, I'm dealing with an abscess tooth, and I think I may have like either cut or bit my tongue or something. I don't know. But hopefully I will be a little better sounding for the next video. But if you watch this, I do greatly appreciate it. Please let me know what you think. Let me know suggestions of what you'd like to see me sculpt. I do pay attention to them, and I do have a list that I am adding to. But thank you so much for watching, and have a good night.